start my streams here. Let's get things going. Ken Creager from Black Swan Financial Advisors. It looks like I'm live, which is always a good sign. I'm up on YouTube. I should be up on Twitch as well. That's where I usually start. Anyway, another podcast session, video podcast. Ken Creager from Black Swan Financial Advisors and my Black Swan Breakthroughs podcast. Financial strategies for thriving through life's unexpected turns. And I specifically, my business, I do focus on families who have family members with special needs. Because there are some special considerations to take into account in those situations. But I think that the information that I share is basically valuable for everybody and anybody. But today I am this podcast is going to be focused on those families with special needs. But another kind of interesting point is that as we get older, and we might see this in our parents and grandparents and so forth, is often, people as they get older become disabled. They might get Alzheimer's, or they might have dementia, or you might have other challenges, and you might end up in a situation where older family members have intellectual disabilities, and they might need some help in these areas. So today I'm going to be talking specifically about how to qualify, a little bit about government benefits. This is super important, and my own personal experience has been that sometimes people don't really think about this until later in their lives, and it limits the choices and can put an additional burden, financial and other personal burdens on siblings and other family members that could have really been avoided. So let's talk about qualifying for state and federal benefits. So people with special needs, intellectual disabilities, and even people with physical disabilities have a right to receive funding from the government and services. So typically these are Medicaid-related services, and Medicaid-related services are managed by the state. So the federal government gives the state money, and the state implements programs and so forth, and administer these programs, and people get services. So I'm going to be specifically talking about Arizona. That's where I happen to reside. I am a little bit familiar with Utah, California, and some of the other states a little bit, but I'm not sure exactly which laws apply to those states. But each state is going to have a similar law. Every single state will have rules and laws that govern these programs in their states. So in Arizona, there's a Department of Economic Security, and again, there'll be a similar organization in your state. And then underneath the Department of Economic Security, we have a division for developmental disabilities. And like I said, this will typically be people that have developmental or intellectual disabilities from an early age, but it could be that they were in an auto accident, or they had a brain trauma or something like that, and now they have disability. And in Arizona, one of the organizations, or the system that was set up to administer the Medicaid program, is called Arizona Healthcare Cost Containment System. So I find it interesting. It's a cost containment system, and this administers the healthcare portion of the government benefits. Now, there are other benefits that might come from DDD and DES, like housing benefits, work program benefits, and things like that, and that's not the healthcare system. But this is a Medicaid program that is state-run healthcare that provides for medical expenses. And Access is a needs-based program And some of these benefits that we're going to talk about are needs-based, which means there are income levels. If you make a certain amount of income or you have a certain amount of assets, then you will not qualify for benefits. Now, the thing is when you have a child with a disability under 18, then the qualification, those income and asset level qualifications, are on the family, on the parents, and their family incomes and their family assets. So, for example, monetary benefits, when our daughter with Down syndrome was under 18, she didn't get the supplemental security income. She didn't get monetary compensation, but she did qualify for the access, the healthcare portion, and she was actually on our insurance as well, on my insurance, but Access provided a secondary insurance, which came in really handy because it would typically pay for stuff that my own insurance would not pay for. So I just want to talk a little bit about this because some families kind of procrastinate, or maybe they don't even look into getting their children qualified for benefits. And since these are state-run programs, if you move and you go to another state, you need to get requalified for your loved one to get into the system. And most states have waiting lists, and it can take years to get back into the system to where you qualify for, your loved one qualifies for benefits. And I know several families, the parents are older, they're retired, they're collecting Social Security and pensions and everything, and their child has no benefits outside. There are no government benefits. Well, guess what? When me and my wife die and my other children have to take care of Addie, she's not going to be able to get put on their health insurance from work or whatever. She's not their child. Okay? So she needs to have her own health care benefits, right? So I know families that they haven't gotten their child registered in the system. They haven't gone through the process because there's a process that you have to go through to prove that you should be getting these benefits. And first off, you need to start out with a diagnosis. And in Arizona, most places would be the same. There's 4 qualifying diagnoses that fall under Article 9, which will get them access to different state benefits. And one of the biggest category is intellectual disabilities. And that could be a traumatic brain injury, Down syndrome falls under there. Whatever might cause a developmental or intellectual disability would fall under this. And then autism spectrum disorder, again, and it depends on the level of disability. In Arizona, if you have an IQ below 70, that would be one measure that would automatically get you qualified as an intellectual disability, but it also depends on other factors. Cerebral palsy and epilepsy, those are the 4 diagnoses, you might say. So you have to go to the doctor, you have to get a diagnosis that has to get reviewed by the state, and it takes time to get into the system. And I think one of the main things is I've talked to lots of parents over the years, and I have 2 older children that are going to take care of Addie when me and Haley pass on. But I don't want to put an extra burden on them financially and other way. They're already going to be taking on the additional burden of having to take care of her and take her places and involve her in their family. And Addie likes to do things. She likes to travel and do different things. And so there's a conflict of interest. I mean, think about that, having a 20 or 25-year-old disabled adult in a family where you have maybe 3 kids that are 3, 2, and 7 or whatever. and mom and dad's running around taking their kids to school and all that kind of stuff. Well, what happens to that disabled adult? They probably get thrown into a day program or whatever, but there's already going to be a lot of burden associated with the siblings or other family members taking care of your disabled loved one. So don't add to the burden by, making it so that after you pass on, somebody else is trying to get benefits for your child. Okay? So get into the system. It's always better to have the options than to not have the options, okay? So why do we need benefits? Why would somebody with a disability need benefits, okay? First off, probably the biggest thing is financial security. The state provides many benefits that cost a lot of money. The healthcare is probably one of the biggest ones, but they might get job training, they might get job placement, they might get transportation, they get services. You get service providers even that can help them learn daily living skills or things like that, or the fact that maybe you just need a break and you need a babysitter, and that's called respite basically, and you can get some benefits so that you can get respite, or your other children or siblings when you pass on, that they can get some hours so that your loved one can spend some time with somebody else, and your kids don't have to pay for it. The state, that's a state benefit. Medical security, again, okay, when me and my wife die, Addie is not going to be able to go on my other kids' health insurance plan. They're not allowed. She's not their kid. She's not their kid. So Addie needs to have her own medical benefits. And it's expensive, and unless you're super wealthy and uber wealthy, you might say, and you want to pay for it when you really didn't need to anyway, then medical security and options, social and economic supports. I talked about job supports and job training and social programs and things to help. Again, you can get service providers that can provide respite and attendant care and habilitation services in your home, in your children's home, wherever your loved one wants to live. Maybe they want to live in their own home and have a roommate and stuff, and you can have paid providers that can go in and provide the supports that your disabled loved one's going to need to be able to live a more independent life. And we have a program actually for creating a personalized individual life plan for families with somebody with a disability that will map out everything that they need to do in order for their loved one to become as independently as possible and to be able to address all the aspects that need to be addressed so that they can live a life like they want to. My daughter wants to have a roommate. She wants to live in her own house. She doesn't want to live in a group home with people that she doesn't even know, and she didn't have any choice in picking as roommates and stuff. Day programs or work programs, job training, job coaching. Addie is just graduating from high school. She's going to be going into some work programs that they're going to provide some socializing, social training, job training, even on-the-job coaching, where she can get the supports that she needs to help actually take some of the burden off a possible employer, to help her learn how to do a job and she wants a job. She wants to make money so she can go to New York City and see Hamilton. So, my daughter wants to do everything that my other kids wanted to do, and she loves traveling and so forth. So skills training, housing, again, why do they need benefits? Because these benefits cost a lot of money, and you don't want to put that additional burden on your other kids or other family members or friends that have to take care of your loved one after you're gone. And my motto is options are always better. Okay, so having family members taking care of your loved one after you're gone is definitely better and the best situation. And I'm hoping that my two kids can take care of their sister. But the reality is that things change and circumstances change. And here's a perfect example. When 10 years ago, when my older kids were, later years of high school, and their sister was 8, 9, 10 years old, Addie has an older sister and an older brother, and the older sister did most of the care, the babysitting and all that, and actually even the first while after she turned 18 and could become a service provider, she worked with Addie and she got paid to do that. And actually we always thought that if something happened to us, that chances are that Addie would spend most of her time living with her sister instead of her brother. And then both her sister and her brother got married. They both have children of their own. One has 4 with another one on the way, and one has 3. Well, it turns out that her sister, a couple of years ago, we had kind of a medical emergency. Things were kind of scary, but we needed a place just for Addie to stay overnight for a couple of nights. And it turns out that her sister and her family also had other family members living in the house, and they didn't even have room for Addie. They didn't even have room for her to stay there. And it turns out her brother and his family, they had more room and they were more able at that time to be able to take care of Addie if they would have needed to. And so Addie ended up spending a little bit of time with them, but the reality is if me and my wife would have passed on at that time, and we thought that her sister was going to be taking care of her, and actually it would have been better for her brother to take care of her. And actually we need to make an amendment to our trust to make sure that both of her brother and sister have guardianship responsibility and rights, so that it doesn't matter which one ends up having to take care of her, that they have guardianship powers. So circumstances can change, and the other thing is the sad reality is that I know families who have broken up and disintegrated and fought over money. And my estate is going to have enough money to help take care of Addie. It's going to be a significant amount of money. It has to be, right? And so, hopefully, you all always hope that your family can, work together and do what's best for your disabled child. But man, I've seen brothers and sisters steal money from each other and do some bad things. And so guess what? Set up a trust, set up the rules, talk to your children, and so they understand what your goals and objectives are and what you would like to happen. And I'm going to plan as much as I can for how Addie can be taken care of and the resources and everything like that. And I'm just going to plan for as much of it as I can and not leave it to chance or not hope that people do the right thing. So the reality is that when we pass on, especially depending on if my other children have young children and young families, and maybe jobs have moved them to another place in the country and all that kind of stuff, is there's already going to be burdens and stress and everything on my other children, and I don't want to add additional stress if I can deal with it beforehand. So plan ahead, And if you have these benefits, if your child has already been qualified and they can, you know, they're registered and enrolled in the healthcare system, maybe they're getting supplemental security income or social security disability income. Maybe you have set up so that they get, they qualify for housing support, attendant living, respite, job training, vocational support, even life skill and social training. You don't have to use it, okay? But if it's there, and maybe like, for example, right now, me and my wife, we do a lot of that for Addie, but when we're gone, I don't know if my other kids are going to have time to do a lot of stuff that Haley and I do. And Haley and I are getting close to retirement, and we'll be able to do things with Addie because we'll have more time. But my other children, if Addie was living with them, they just might not have the time and resources to be able to do the things that Addie wants to do. So Addie has the benefits to be used as needed. So I would suggest that you do the same for your loved one. There are some other topics very specific, and these topics are being discussed on other videos. I've already done a video on supplemental security income and social security disability income, and I did one on ABLE accounts. I'm going to do a whole series on Social Security, SSI, ABLE accounts. So I'm going to be doing some more videos there that are going to go into more detail. But you can look back through my podcast or go to my playlist. There's a government benefits playlist that you can look at, and as I make more videos, you'll see those. The nice thing is Addie right now, once you're an adult, or if you're a minor below a certain income and asset level, you can get supplemental security income. Right now, I think it's like $900 and something, or it might be $890 or something. But you'll note here in Arizona that if you have an ABLE account that has over $100,000 in it, it's going to start disqualifying you from your SSI. Now the nice thing is once one of the parents can claim Social Security, if you have a Social Security benefit, a disabled child that was disabled before they were 26 can qualify and get a Social Security disability off of your Social Security. So they would get half of your Social Security as though you retired at full retirement age. So both me and my wife have benefits. Mine are going to be a little bit more than my wife's, and so the idea is as soon as possible, even retiring early, since that is figured out at full retirement age, Addie would get quite a bit more SSDI than she gets for SSI. Then other things to talk about: taxes, tax-free. Again, when you pass on, if you have a trust, your assets are going to get taxed at the highest tax bracket. So there's a lot of things to talk about, and asset limits that can disqualify your loved one from being able to get benefits. And so it's really important to talk to somebody that knows the rules and can help you come up with a plan for your family and your loved one. So please, get with me. Black Swan Financial Advisors. Ken, there's my email. You can email me for more videos. YouTube at Black Swan FA. And stay tuned for more videos. Thank you very much.